Sure, I started as a b-boy, but it wasn't really a conscious decision. It was just arts, and just me being interested in arts. I guess it's that whole thing with when the arts calls you kind of element because I was quite young. So, yeah, I started there. It was latest craze. Nobody had ever seen anything like it before. Like, people moving like snakes and doing all those funny moves. And so it was on the news, it was all over the place, on TV back in the mid 80s. So as kids, we got into it. We just latched on into it.
Where was that?
In Tuzu,
Okay.
Wamashu.
And there was like you had a crew there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it wasn't in that sophisticated street level yet. We were still just being taught by older boys
Oh, okay.
how to do this. They had crews, they had, competitions and things like that. We were just younger and we were just learning from them, and then they were imparting different styles and just like, the music, all the movies, the Crash Groove movies, all those things. We were just absorbing that as kids. So even the names, man, I had like, there's a guy called Uvuga from my neighborhood who was into that, and his brother. There was other boys from Entuzuma. Some of them I've forgotten. Actually, I met one of them a couple of years ago. He's into photography now. Like, he's one of those guys who walk in the streets and take photos. He used to be really, really good too. One of the guys who I know from the colored neighborhoods, because there was segregation at the time. So who I know was one of the guys, even though he doesn't know I know he used to be into that whole thing.
To B-boy.
He used to be boy. He still looks like a b-boy now. What's his name? I think it's Clinton or something. He's a boyfriend to a Jay. I'm missing you. No, her boyfriend. He used to be there, like back in the day. You know, like most of the guys who were deep into that, it was guys who used to go to college schools. So they used to come in the townships, and then there was that whole thing. It got easier to kind of, you know someone who does that, because it was older boys who used to go to college schools. So that's how it really kind of quickly moved in the township. So, and then after that, there was a lot of political unrests. So in my family, like in a lot of other families in the neighborhood, kids were moved to boarding schools and things like that. So in that way, I got to connect with people from places like Joburg, Scott, in the boarding school scenario, and that was none of that b-boy type, because we're from the cities, and they're from like different townships and different influences. So Ispantula was the thing there. So that's why, you know what I mean. It's just a progression of just being in the art.
Around what year was that?
This is not 86, 87 when I got into Ispantula, but break dancing and all that. That was like 84, 85. Yeah. Theater, like I was around about 87, 88, 86. That was like choir, because we were in a mission school with my sister, like, you know what I mean, like nuns and that whole thing. So we had like the head of the mission was an old German, someone who escaped from Germany, something like that. Like, he was a German priest, like, as kids he was like a very cruel kind of character, like, who couldn't speak English properly, but it was like basically music and dance, and in those times for me, that's where I was. Like, uh, back then, like, that was primary school for me, right? Then I moved to Maritzburg.
So you were a b-boy in primary school?
Yes.
Okay.
And then in high school, I was into art and theater, like arts club and things like that. Like fortunately, my mother enrolled me into a school which was like, more had white teachers in Maritzburg, Suguma Comprehensive. Right in the middle of the township in Maritzburg. It was a boarding school. So I came from that background into that. And basically I was in the arts club and things like that. And this is the time when Sarafina was like huge overseas. They were doing the circuits, Broadway, all those things. So in the school, to get into the arts thing, we were doing that type of theater, the protest theater. That that was the thing. That was like, if you're a young man and you understood what South Africa was going through, you automatically, if you're in the arts, you're in the protest theater realm. So that's where we cut our teeth, in that type of thing. So in that sense, that's where everything started becoming verbal for me, you know what I mean? Not dance. And it was dance, but in verbal and politics and dialogue and all those things. So that's where I got into that whole understanding what you're singing. You sing, because if you look at Sarafina and the dialogue, the play, it's all very conscious words and lyrics, and in that sense, even though it's not a sought after theater and lyrics and poetry, but it's a people's easily relatable, easy in the ear and eye type of expression. So that we were deep in there. We were writing our own plays as well. Yeah. So that's how it evolved. And then we got kicked out of school because, politics and things that we were just we were learning, but we were more into the Sasco, that whole thing, than really in school. So we got kicked out of school. So I had to come back into Durban. So that whole thing was kind of dead, me and arts and all those things. So I went for auditions at the Playhouse, but I had to quit school if I had needed to do theater. Like I don't know, passed, got accepted, or passed the auditions and things like that to be part of a company, a theater company, but that couldn't work out because I had to quit school and I hadn't finished high school. So, and at home they were like, "You're not gonna do that." So I got so mad, and the type of theater they wanted me to do was something that as a young man who's kind of trying to be done, like it was something that I was gonna do at the time. So I stopped everything, and then at the time I was already now deep into music a little bit, not deep, but hip hop was already in my mind, like Mr. Lee, Get Funky, Public Enemy was already. This is like early 90s, 91, 90, you know what I mean? So already hip hop was already a buzz thing in terms of the music, because at the time South African music wasn't being pumped that much in the airwaves. If you were around, like 2-3 years before then, it was only South African music on the airwaves, and then all of a sudden it just switched off. Everything was transitioning to overseas influences, So as kids, that's what we absorbed as well, And I imagine if you only think that and you pride yourself apart musically, it's just like South African bubblegum type thing, and this is what Stimela, that's like, when you listen to South African music with lyrics, Stimela was the thing, or Sakile as a young man. So that's, and then everything switches into a more internationalized radio type thing, and then, actually at the time I was also starting to write myself, just because from that whole thing of writing theater pieces and dialogues, and I was just developing a hand, basically, a free hand, which is write whatever, I hadn't thought about rapping, just even anything that ever crossed my mind, it was just something that fine, it was just mimic and just love the songs that I played, So those, as I said, like the type of hip hop that was there, Heavy D's, and that type of dance type of hip hop, that was what was going on. I was not even that much on the KRS-One, like, you know, Cool G rap type thing that much, you know, because that type of rap, we got into my 6-inch house remixes. Like we'd have Frankie Knuckles producing for somebody else, and they'll have like different remixes, and then there'll be like a hip hop remix in there, and they'll put a rapper. They always put a rapper in there. They'll put a Rakim. They'll put all those mainstream NL Cool J. All those they'll put, like, because at the time like there was a lot of house music that I was around. Like I was around house music DJs as a guy who was in the art and the music, and so that's kind of people I was rolling with, because I had a cousin in Mlazi who was a DJ. So during holidays we could just go to Mlazi and just vibe on house music and go to see DJs there, or go and see all these like big DJs, early 90s big DJs as Mlazi. You know, we used to hang around in their spots, watch them spin records, and that's how I got to know, like, oh, there's actually Rakim on a house remix, but on one of those 6-inch type things. Yeah, basically. And after that, it's all just like, you know, that's all she wrote.
Okay.
You know, that's how we got into and then discovered all types of rappers, and then Nas was coming in the industry. And locally there wasn't really, there was POC, you know, and I hadn't gone to see them, you know, to kind of witness what this is about. It's just radio every now and then, or magazines, you know. I hadn't gone into a show to go see POC, like, really, you know. So it wasn't really something that I quite understood the impact of it culturally, you know what I mean? It wasn't something that I really kind of clicked into or immediately got what they were saying, because you have to understand also English wasn't the first language, so you hear what they're saying but you don't really hear what they're saying, because even overseas music, you hear what they're saying but you don't really hear what they're saying. It's not as you fully grasp what they're saying. It's more the glamour of it, or the effects of it, the aesthetics of it, you know, that used to grab you and entertain you, and you love that. In Durban, nah. There would be people who collect tapes, exchange tapes, like you exchange with people around in your own neighborhood, like in Lokshina again, Kasi type, and people you knew from Claremont or Avant you knew from in other sections who've got tapes, you know. So you get their tapes, and you know, you exchange tapes. That's basically what it was about then. You know,
just
music lovers, basically, just exchanging music, taping, and all that stuff. No recordings, no ambitions to become anything beyond that.
No shows,
no nothing really. Like talent shows, like Share to Fame was the thing that was going on there.
Okay.
So if somehow someone decided to mimic or write a rap according to whoever is out there and imitate the flow and write their own, and be brave enough to go to Share to Fame, there was those kind of things, you know. Yeah. So actually we did go eventually to Share to Fame. You know. Yeah, it was a long queue. Some of the people never got to perform. Some people I never got to perform, but the people I came with got to perform as well. So.